a professional bookkeeper should not cost more than $100 to $200 a month. As Rich Dad always said, there is good debt and bad debt, good income and bad income, and good expenses and bad expenses. He told me that hiring a bookkeeper and other professional financial advisors was money that went for good expenses, simply because these were expenses that made you richer, your life easier, and prepared you for a better future. If you truly cannot afford a bookkeeper, then find one and trade services. Finally, and most importantly, hiring a professional bookkeeper reaffirms to yourself that you are taking your personal financial life seriously. It means that at least once a month, you sit down with your bookkeeper, are held accountable, learn, correct, and redirect the financial future of your life. Habit number 2. Create a winning team. In Rich Dad's Guide to Investing, I wrote that the B quadrant and the I quadrant are team sports. One of the reasons people from the E and S quadrants have trouble transitioning is because they are not used to having a team assisting them with their financial plans and financial decisions. After your bookkeeper gives you your monthly financial statements, meet with your team on a monthly basis. You may want a banker, accountant, attorney, stockbroker, real estate broker, insurance broker, and others. Each professional comes to the table with a different set of eyes and different ways of solving your problems. Just because you have many opinions does not mean you have to follow any of them. The most important thing is that you do not keep your money problems a secret. You listen to people smarter than you in different areas of expertise, and ultimately, you make your own decision. So start gathering your team. If you cannot afford a high-priced team, you may want to find a retired person who enjoys helping and guiding people. Many times, all you have to do is buy them lunch. You will be surprised how many people simply enjoy being asked to share their life's experience in helping others. All you have to do is be respectful, not argue, and listen intently. Do this once a month, and your future will be enriched forever. Habit number 3. Constantly expand your context and your content. We now live in the information age, not in the industrial age. In the information age, your greatest asset is not your stocks, bonds, mutual funds, businesses, or real estate. Your greatest asset is the information in your head and the age of your information. Too many people are falling behind because the information in their heads is ancient history, or they cling to answers that were right yesterday but wrong today. If you want to retire young and retire rich, you will need to keep up with a world of rapidly changing information. Keep learning by listening to audio programs, reading financial books, and subscribing to online resources that deal with financial education. Our website lists many resources from our company that can get you started. You can also check the bibliographies of the Rich Dad book series for other important titles. Habit number 4. Keep growing up. Rich Dad often said, "People get older, but they do not necessarily grow up." Many people run from mom and dad's shelter to the shelter of a company or the government. Many expect someone else to take care of them or be responsible for their lack of wisdom and common sense. That is why they seek job security or government sanctuaries. Too many people spend their lives looking for guarantees and avoiding risk. Government safety nets were created in the industrial age for the very needy. Today, unfortunately, many people, even highly educated and highly paid, are still counting on the government to take care of them. We are in the information age, and it is time that we as a culture begin to grow up and mature financially. Leave the government safety nets and social programs for those that really need them. But also realize that the world is changing and that there isn't much job security and financial security anymore. People are counting on the stock market to assure their security. But what happens if in 20 years, too many people panic and begin draining their 401ks? The stock market will crash, many people will be disappointed, and America may go into a deep recession. If this happens, millions upon millions of baby boomers and their children will finally have to grow up. Growing up means that you become less and less dependent upon others and more able to take care of yourself. Growing up means continuing to learn, continuing to have your money work for you, and continuing on the path to retiring young and retiring rich. Habit number 5. Be willing to fail more. One of the biggest differences between my rich dad and my poor dad was that my poor dad was unwilling to fail. He thought making mistakes was a sign of failure. After all, he was a teacher. My poor dad thought that in life there was only one right answer. My rich dad constantly ventured into areas that he knew nothing about. He believed in dreaming big, trying new things, and making small mistakes. Rich Dad said, "One of the great things about being willing to try new things and make mistakes is that making mistakes keeps you humble. People who are humble learn more than people who are arrogant." So Rich Dad's advice was, live a little. Do something daring and a little risky every day. Even if you do not become rich, this habit will keep your life exciting and keep you younger for years longer. Habit number 6. Listen to yourself. The last and most important habit for anyone who wants to retire young and retire rich is to listen to yourself. Rich Dad often said, "The most powerful force I have is what I say to myself and what I believe." What Rich Dad meant by your most powerful force goes back to the biblical concept that your words become flesh. In other words, pay close attention to what you are saying to yourself, because what you are saying to yourself is what you are becoming each and every day. Notice the thoughts you don't want. Change to thoughts about things you want. Notice feelings you don't want. Change to feelings you want. Take action and keep going, correcting if necessary, until you get what you want, rather than what you don't want. If you can make these simple habits part of your lifelong habits, the action steps in the next section will be easy for you to realize and make you richer than your wildest dreams. The leverage of your money. On March 12, 2001, the stock market channels were crying the blues about the crash of the stock market. On March 10, 2000, just a year earlier, the Nasdaq was at an all-time high of 5,048.62. On this day, March 12, 2001, the Nasdaq was at 1923, a 62% fall in approximately a year. Also on this single day, shareholders lost $554 billion on all exchanges. On one of the financial television channels, a commentator said something I've been concerned about for years. He said, many rich investors are only getting richer in this market fall. They get rich because they go in and out of the market. I feel for the working person that has just had their pension plan wiped out. They left their retirement money in the market because they have to. My wife Kim was also watching the program and listening to the commentator. Kim said, "Watching your retirement plan get wiped out must be like watching your house burn and not having a hose to put the fire out." In Rich Dad's Guide to Investing, I stated that the poor and middle class invest in mutual funds and the rich invest in hedge funds. While many people claim hedge funds are too risky, I tend to disagree. I think mutual funds are far riskier, simply because most mutual funds tend only to do well when the markets go up. At least with some hedge funds, you can make money in an up market as well as a down market. Is your money just sitting there doing nothing? One of the reasons people work so hard all their lives is simply because they were taught to work harder than their money. When most people think of investing, many just park their money either in a savings account or in their retirement account as they continue on with their life of hard work. While they work, they hope their money is working too. Then when something like a financial disaster comes along, their parked money gets decimated and most people have no financial disaster insurance. Rich Dad said, most people spend their lives building financial houses of straw. Houses which are susceptible to wind, rain, fire, and big bad wolves. That is why Rich Dad taught his son and me how to keep our money moving. If you want to retire young and retire rich, you will need to work harder and faster. Your money will have to do the same thing. How fast is your money? One of the reasons Kim and I retired early was because we kept our money moving. Rich Dad often referred to this concept as the velocity of money. If you want to retire young and retire rich, it is very important that your money be like a bird dog, going out every day and bringing home more and more assets. Today, many financial planners and mutual fund managers say to the average investor, "Just give us your money and we'll put your money to work for you." Most investors nod and repeat the mantra, invest for the long term, buy and hold, and diversify. Their money gets parked and they go back to work. For most investors, these are pretty good ideas, given that most investors have no interest in learning how to put their money to work, since they seem to prefer working harder than their money. The trouble with these plans of average investors is that they are not necessarily productive investment strategies, nor are they necessarily safer. Kim and I did not keep our money in a retirement account in order to retire young. We knew that we had to keep our money working hard to acquire more and more assets. Once our money acquired an asset, that money was soon re-employed to go out and get us another asset. The strategy we use to keep our money moving and acquiring more and more assets is a strategy that almost everyone can use. Keep the money moving. One of the strategies we used to keep our money moving was to buy a rental property and within a year or two, borrow out our own down payment and buy another rental property. The following is an example of how we invested and then borrowed money to invest in other assets. In 1990, Kim and I noticed a house for sale in a beautiful neighborhood in Portland, Oregon. The owner was asking $95,000, but the property did not sell. The economy was bad, people were being downsized, and there were many houses on the market. We would have put in an offer earlier, but this house did not fit our investment profile. It was too expensive and too nice a house to be considered a long-term rental property. Yet we watched this property because we could see it had a lot of value and potential. After about 6 months, we finally knocked on the door and found that the owner was very anxious to sell and ready to listen to any offers. He owed $56,000, so I offered $60,000 and we settled on $66,000. I gave him $10,000 and we took over his existing mortgage. A month later, the owner and family had moved out and were on their way to California, happy to have sold their home. They did not make much money and they did not lose much money. The house rented immediately, and we wound up making about $75 a month positive cash flow after paying all debt and expenses. About 2 years later, the market had improved and many people were making us offers to buy it, the best offer being $86,000. Kim and I did not take the offer, although it was tempting. If we had sold, we would have realized approximately a 100% per annum return on our down payment. We felt the house could eventually reach the $150,000 range in 3 to 5 years. Instead of selling this house, we decided to begin buying more, now that the market was turning in sales price and also rental income. Given the strong market indications, Kim and I applied for a home equity loan. The balance on the mortgage was now less than $55,000, and the appraisal came in at around $95,000. The rent could cover a mortgage of around $70,000, so we refinanced the house and put approximately $15,000 in our pocket. We had gotten our money back and we still had the asset. Within a few months, after looking at several hundred properties, we found our new target. It was a great house in the same neighborhood. The house did not show well since the owner had let his children live in it rent-free for years. The asking price was $98,000, and after several offers and counteroffers, we purchased it for $72,000, put $4,000 into paint and repairs, and put it up for rent. Late in 1994,